Hello and welcome to our Thursday edition of Corn-Fed Sports in the Morning. I'm Pat Radigan. I'm the publisher and founder here at Corn-Fed Sports. And today we've actually got a live Husker guest in studio again. So it's the second time in the young history of our show we've got that. So we're going to start with some Husker headlines and we'll hurry through those so we can get to some more fun. We'll start with some more sports type talk, and then we'll go on to some fun talk of South Dakota, my home state, and the home state of the guest we have in studio. So we'll save the suspense for our second segment here. We'll start with some Husker headlines, starting with the Nebraska basketball team, or the men's basketball team last night, who traveled to Indiana. Started strong. The game kind of started back and forth, the kind of game Nebraska wanted. Dylan Talley was able to score early on. He had 10 points in the first half, but Nebraska was unable to hold with the athletic, the deep Indiana team. You saw Indiana go 11 players in the first half, 10 players really early on in the game, and just kept running guys in and out. So I think they were aware of Nebraska's 8 scholarship players and knew that they had the edge there. So after a while, Nebraska was up 14-11 at one point, but they hit a couple three-pointers, got to the rim a couple times, and then Nebraska just wasn't able to claw back. But first half, Nebraska stayed in it. They were up for the majority of the first part of the game. They only trailed by less than 10 and a half, and so there's a lot of things to take away from it. Dylan Talley came up big, performed not just shooting around the perimeter, doing those little things he's done before, got to the rim, was able to make some plays for Nebraska. So there's some signs there against the number one team. Nebraska's moving on. They have some more tough road games and a couple chances at some upsets at home. So Nebraska unable to keep within the 20-point range, keep it without getting a little out of hand against the number one team, but that's something you could probably expect playing at Assembly Hall. We'll move on to our other Husker headline for the day, which is tonight's Nebraska women's basketball game. The Huskers will take on Ohio State at the Devaney Center. It's a play for K game, which is why I got the pink shirt rocking it today. We'll wear it throughout the day. It's the wear pink for North Carolina State's former head coach, Kay Yao, passed away due to cancer, and she's a legendary coach in the ACC and on Division I level. So honoring her, playing for Kay. Nebraska's taking on an Ohio State team they've actually beat the last 3 times they've played them. Once at home, once on the road, once at a neutral site. So they'll get them back at home again. Nebraska's looking to extend their their Big Ten winning streak from 6 games to 7. Right now they're tied with Purdue. Purdue's slipped down to 7-3. Nebraska's 7-3 in the league. So they have Penn State at the last home game of the year. So Nebraska's trying to keep it rolling, keep the shot at hopefully if Penn State has another upset, Nebraska can beat them in the last game of the year and catch up to them in the standings. So Jordan Hooper's coming off 2 straight Big Ten Player of the Week honors. Nebraska's got a couple players. Jordan Hooper averaging more 19 points a game. Lindsey Moore at 15 points a game. Then Emily Cady actually is averaging 9.7 points a game, getting up there 7.5 rebounds a game. So Nebraska's got some of those players who are emerging, had some slow starts, but the numbers are kind of starting to catch up with where you think they're at. They've had players like Brandy Jeffrey and T. Laudermill who have contributed double-digit efforts. Rachel Terrio's won the Freshman of the Week honor a couple times. So they've had some players that are starting to come together. Coach Yorey said this is starting to be more of the team that you're seeing, and even yesterday at the press conference, players were talking about how much fun they're having and how much they're enjoying being on the court with each other. So Nebraska women's basketball tonight, we'll have it covered with our Corn-Fed Live account, doing live tweets, pictures, updates from the game, and we'll have a video and a recap coming afterwards. So that'll wrap up our first Husker headline segment here. Like I said, we'll come back with a guest here in the second segment, and we'll take a quick break here, and we'll be back for more Corn-Fed Sports in the Morning. All right, we're back now here with our second segment here for Corn-Fed Sports in the Morning. We're joined by Jacqueline Juffer from the Nebraska Swim and Dive team. Sorry, I messed that up. I like to use the Husker Swim and Dive more, and it's a fun to just dumb the end down and just about everything we can do. So getting the capital N in the middle is fun.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit of Husker swimming now first to get that out of the way, and then both of us are South Dakota natives, so I haven't had a chance to really go nuts on my South Dakota roots on the show yet. So this will be my first shameless plug, and maybe we can get Coach Miles in here or something like that to talk a little more South Dakota history, or one of the other coaches that we'll get to later. I just don't want to ruin our South Dakota challenge. So we'll first start. Nebraska's on a record-setting year already, and obviously I bet you guys aren't happy with just that. You want to go for more. So what's that like, knowing what you've accomplished so far and knowing that you still have those more opportunities ahead of you guys?
Well, as a freshman, it is a huge deal for us. Like, our class coming in, helping make that huge impact. I mean, Pablo, our head coach's record before this was 8, so I mean, we way surpassed that. And our new assistant coach, Pat, has been a huge part of that, and looking forward to next year. We still will have a really strong team, and we're really excited to keep that going and hopefully get right back up to it, if not surpass that, and our goals that we have. So
yeah, and I think it's interesting you bring up the coaches right away, because I was actually going to ask about that too. It seems like in a lot of sports you can obviously understand how coaching and the interaction works, but in swimming it might not be as apparent how that goes down. But at being around the meet and being there, you see the interaction, the before the meets, the after meets, how the communication back and forth, and all those different things they do. So how much do you think people underestimate how important coaching is in the individual connection you can have in a coach in a sport like swimming?
Well, I mean, it is a huge deal, and I mean, people might not get that. I mean, we're in the water. You can't really hear people. You're not like, hey, good job to your teammate while they're swimming. I mean, it's a whole different field. I mean, you talk to your coaches and your teammates before you race and then after, but everything they do during practice every single day is a huge factor. I mean, we have great relationships with Pablo and Pat, and just the way they coach us individually. I mean, we all need a little bit of a different, push and edge. So, I mean, Pablo is really reserved and knows how to, tell you what to get done and what to do to get your goals. And Pat likes to fire us up and get us excited, so we have that edge and that, adrenaline going a little bit. So it's a great pair that they have.
Does it make it easier when you know what they've accomplished and what they were capable of at one point?
Yeah. I mean, for many who don't know, Pablo was a multiple Olympic medalist, and, I mean, he's been to the peak of our sport. And for some people, maybe U.S. Opens or something is the peak of theirs. But for us, swimming is it. And to know that Pablo has gone there and he's done it, he knows the pressure that we can face, that's really reassuring.
Yeah, and I think one of the things people didn't notice probably from the Summers games that I thought was really interesting is Ryan Lochte actually said one of his most inspiring moments, one of his favorite moments growing up, was seeing Pablo win the gold medal. So Ryan Lochte admires the Nebraska coach. So
we really want him to come see us. I mean, because he always tweets oh, he's my most idoled person or whatever, and we're like, come visit, seriously.
Well, there we go. Maybe we have one of our. So once we get the virality of the things going around here, maybe we'll be able to reach out to Mr. Lochte and get him in here.
Hopefully.
So, it's Valentine's Day. That's probably every swimmer's dream, is to probably have Ryan Lochte around on Valentine's Day. So I can't blame him for that. All right, we'll move on to some things that are still on the sporting level, but I think are interesting, that are beyond just swimming, and that's that it doesn't matter which sport you are, whether it's football, volleyball, all the ones that are getting a lot of attention or less ones, you interact with one another. You have good friendships with those athletes, and the athletes don't see the divide between the different sports. The football players are at women's gymnastics meets. The baseball players, the volleyball players show up at everything. That you look in the stands, swimming, dive, they're probably half or a third athletes from different sports, different things. What do you think people don't understand about just how connected the entire athletic community here is in Nebraska?
I think that people see sports and they think that those are their only friends. I mean, even coming here, it's kind of oh yeah, these are your swimmers, these are who you're going to spend all day, every day with. But coming to summer school or coming into it your freshman year, you notice oh wow, my best friends may be swimmers, but they also are those girls that I have in class, or those guys that I spend my study time with, your tutors with, you're hanging out, relationships don't just stop at your sport. And yeah, we love to go out and support each other, and we just want to see not only our teammates and our friends succeed, but the entire program of Nebraska athletics succeed. So,
and I think that makes it more interesting for some of us that they get all fired up, and that they create interest by other people coming in. They see them going to it, and I've seen like little kids who like flock around the volleyball players, like different events, different things, and there've even been girls who get autographs from softball players at volleyball. So it goes every way. Pretty soon here in the Nebraska Swim and Dive team, they have a couple years, then you guys will be getting autographs everywhere. So I'm sure that we'll be stepping up there pretty soon.
Hopefully.
So, but it's interesting to certainly see that connection, and to see it move around. So I'm glad that you thought the same thing along there.
Yeah.
We'll wrap it up with one fun question. If you could pick of all the different athletes who go to any sporting event that you see to just constantly be there, that you could get to do whatever you want as your super fan for swim and dive, who do you think is the most interesting Husker sport fan that you've seen? Who's the one person that you think does the best job of taking care of business?
That is a really hard question. I know like Kenny Bello goes out and supports a lot of gymnastics, and he's really good about that for those girls, and they're awesome. I know the wrestlers, they love to come and they like to stop by our swim meets. Like shout out to like Timmy Lambert and some of those guys, and Nate and Aaron Wong, the two twins. Like they're always running around every single event, loving on people.
I'm really happy we got there, because that is the correct answer. Is that if you want any two people to support any event, it's the Wongs, because they do a better job of any of it, and they do a better job of social media covering anything than we do practically on a lot of things.
Yeah.
So they're all over it. They know that they can cheer everybody on. They always make sure they get pictures at every game, and they really are super fans in every sense of the word. So I'm glad we could wrap up with that. So
awesome.
We'll be back now. We're gonna go to a quick break, and we'll come back for a South Dakota challenge here. So we'll have some fun. If you're not from South Dakota, you'll probably tune out, but I promise you it'll be interesting. It's great faces, great places in South Dakota. So we'll be back shortly. All right, we're back here for our final segment of this morning's Corn-Fed Sports in the Morning. This one's a little, like we've said before, we like to have fun here at Corn-Fed Sports. So this is, instead of just incessantly tweeting about South Dakota, we're going to move on and actually have a South Dakota challenge. So I promise you won't see any more ridiculous shout-outs from my home state, or I'll keep it to my own account, and I'll make sure that I don't pollute the Twitter airwaves with many more South Dakota shout-outs. So we'll move on. I did recently realize that I thought I was going to be, a big-time superstar, and then I realized my problem was that I wasn't from Wagner, South Dakota. So if you don't know, not only is she from Wagner, but Robert Kokesh is also a Wagner person, and they're both dominating their respective sports. So apparently that was the secret, is to be from Wagner, South Dakota, and I missed out on that. I'm a Sioux Falls kid. So we'll move past it. We'll see if you got the South Dakota knowledge. So maybe I've got the edge there. So we'll start with one that has a Husker tie to it. So what Olympic-winning coach is also a head coach at Nebraska who's from South Dakota? He helped coach an Olympic champion at the last Olympics, and he might be the head coach of the wrestling team here.
Mike Manning is not.
Mark Manning.
Mark
we'll give her the break. She got Manning right.
There.
There's some different Mannings, and they have nicknames. So
Yeah.
maybe you knew Coach Manning's nicknames. But yeah, we got Manning. So Vermilion, South Dakota native. We'll start it out there. Maybe when we re-show this, we'll edit it and we'll put in like a robot voice that says Mark Manning
Yeah, we
instead.
should do that.
So Mark Manning, she got that. We'll give her the correct answer there. These next ones will be easier. They're less Husker. We had to obviously get the first plug in there. So in the state of South Dakota, there's one particular thing besides Mount Rushmore that we have the world's only. And so the world's only what?
The world's only Corn Palace.
There it is, Corn Palace in Mitchell, South Dakota, which I don't know if you know this or not, but the Corn Palace actually has a basketball court and stage and things inside of it. So there are many basketball games. Mike Miller, the NBA champion from Miami Heat, played basketball at the Corn Palace in Mitchell, South Dakota. So the Corn Palace isn't just a building covered in corn, but it's also a basketball arena and has many other purposes. And there's an awesome doll museum next door. I know Jeff Colhane of Sports Nightly probably loved that doll museum growing up in Mitchell, South Dakota. So the Corn Palace in Mitchell, South Dakota, yeah, that's where it's at. All right, there's a place in South Dakota that's famous for giving away free water, among many other things, as well as the fact they have signs all over the world that say how many miles it is to this place. Where can you get free water in South Dakota?
Wall Drug.
There it is, Wall Drug. It's in the western part of the state. Being from Sioux Falls, I'm scared of the western part of the state most times, but I will go to Wall Drug, an old touristy attraction. Got some stores, some fun little things from the years past of American fun and traveling. It's a little outdated at times, but it's still fun to stop by every once in a while. So there we go. We've got 2 out of 3. We want you to get 3 out of 5. The 5th one's going to be nearly impossible to get, but it's our trick question. So here we go. You have to get this last one. This will secure the win for you. So in the state of South Dakota, license plate numbers start by being sorted by the biggest counties. So we're going to need 5 of the cities associated with the big counties of the top 10. So can you get 5 of the top 10 cities? And we'll give you 3 strikes for wrong. So you get 3 wrong answers. So
Sioux Falls.
There's one.
Harrisburg.
No. Harrisburg getting some shout outs. I wish it was that big.
T.
No.
Oh my God.
Think west. Think west first.
Okay.
So we got 2 of our strikes. We got to be careful here.
I feel like I'm gonna fail this. Brandon. That's north, but I don't know. I think I just failed this. Like you mean all in number 1, right?
No, not
2?
number 1. Oh, sorry. No.
Oh.
Sorry,
I
we
was
messed
like-
that up. Okay, sorry, we had a little snafu there.
Oh.
Sorry, I'll explain the question better. The different ones. So it doesn't just have to be number 1.
Oh, okay.
It can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Yeah.
9, 10. Okay, she's got this knocked out of the park. I knew this.
Sioux Falls, Rapid City, Pierre. No.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Cool. Aberdeen.
Yep.
And Mitchell.
There we go. We got 5 of them just right away. So I knew that she'd knock that one out of the park. Okay, good. Sorry for the confusion there. I probably should have explained the questions better. Like I said, this is our first week. We'll have to have her on once we have fancy graphics and fancy titles and do some other types of challenges. So there's always more things you can come up with. So there we go. We got the 3 out of the first 4. So now we have the last question, which is one I just want to sneak in here again for another shameless plug. What's the name of the fire station in Vermilion, South Dakota? Mark Manning's hometown. So it goes back to that first question.
Oh, I've heard of this before, but I don't remember it.
The fire station in Vermillion, South Dakota is the William J. Radigan Fire and EMS Station, named after my wonderful grandfather, who is the mayor of Vermillion. So that was my shameless plug in there. I figured that if I gave enough easy questions that I had to get one that was actually tough that I could use for fun's sake. So there we go. We got, after I poorly explained one of the questions, we wrapped it up. We got 3 out of 5. She's going to stick around for a second. We're going to play a little Mario Kart. So we'll have a show coming next week that has some of our N64 challenges, some of our other fun challenges. So there'll be more from it. But that wraps up our this Corn-Fed Sports in the Morning. So thanks for joining. I'm Pat Radigan.